Welcome back to Mondays on Montlake. I am your host, Montlake Miguel. We got a very special episode today. We got Kevin Cacabelos coming in, giving us his opinions on recruiting and everything. My guy Kevin is a insider when it comes to the recruiting world. He's also deep in dog world. Kevin, let them know some of the things that you're a part of, just so they know where to come see you, and we'll kind of go over that
Yeah.
again at the end as well.
Yeah. So I run my own independent thing with my friend Brian, Seatown Sports. You can find us at seatownsports.com. I'm pretty active on X with the Husky recruiting coverage at Seatown Kev. Or just search Seatown Sports and you'll probably find us. But we do a weekly podcast on Seattle sports, and we do what we can in our spare time. So I'm happy to be here, and thanks for letting me join you.
Yeah, I appreciate you, man. Talking dogs. Like I said, man, we represent the South End. I just found out, and I love it. I love it. So, as we kind of jump into this, over the last couple of weeks, I've kind of broke down my own personal views of the post-spring dogs, what we saw during the spring game and everything. And I think that's where we're going to start today. Do you feel that actually, let's do this. What did you think of the dogs post-spring? What was kind of your view from 30,000 feet?
Uh, I'm just way more confident in this team rather than comparing it to the first year of Fish and the second year of Fish heading into, after the spring, heading into the fall. I'm feeling really good about the depth, like from a very high level, and just knowing that there's not as many like question marks as there have been in the past 2 seasons.
I couldn't agree more. And I think when you really break down those offensive and defensive lines, I mean, those injuries to Mills and Carver Willis last year
Yeah.
definitely equaled at least one loss, likely two or three that could have
Yeah.
actually been wins. Because, like, you take the Ohio State game, for example, there had been only one sack up until the moment that Carver Willis went down, and we were killing them in time of possession, yards
Yeah.
gained. He gets hurt. McCree comes in, and the drop off is so significant
Yeah.
that we end up giving four more sacks up the rest of the game, and we can't do anything offensively, and that
Yeah.
can't just be by chance. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah,
Um,
I mean, I think about the left tackle position um, with Cody Green, and then you have Colt Dietrich who came in as a transfer. I mean, I don't, I mean, the fact that you have a true freshman that's going to be, top half of the Big Ten, hopefully at
mhm.
that position, like that just gives you a lot of hope. And then right behind him, you have a guy with a lot of experience, right? And that have the measurables, and hopefully, I mean, we didn't see much of him in the spring, but hopefully he'll be a good depth piece at the left tackle position. But I think that's emblematic of like where this team is at right now.
So let me ask you this: when you were watching the team, did the offense look ahead of the defense, or did the defense look ahead of the offense to you?
It's the defense is always going to look better because they're just playing the same offense all the time. But I would say the offense is obviously just the better unit because of QB1. And I'm always going to say, even when the team lost Adam Muhammad to the transfer portal, like when you have a quarterback that was reportedly a target to be poached by these top schools. Not that Washington isn't, but like the payday from these schools could have been huge,
Hmm.
and UW paid them a lot, right?
They
So
did, yeah.
I really think that the offense is we're going to see a lot of the next couple months. We're going to read a lot of season previews, and a lot of them are going to sound the same. A lot of them are going to talk about, the whole fiasco with Damon Williams, but then hopefully they'll shift towards talking about his caliber of play and entering his third season, and where he's at. And I believe Fish when he says it was his best spring. And so I feel because of him that the offense is in a lot better, in a good place. But that's not to say like the defense isn't going to be elite, which I really do think it's going to be elite.
Yeah, I kind of thought that the defense looked ahead of the offense, but I also agree with you. It always looks
Yeah.
that way. I thought our secondary looks legit. Like that was one
Yeah.
of the big things. I like Carnley, the transfer from Virginia, but I thought Dylan Robinson is looking like all
Is he a
everything.
sophomore or junior at this point? I
He's a
can't remember.
sophomore. He's a true sophomore.
God,
He's a
yeah.
true
Like,
sophomore, and he looks like an NFL guy.
yeah.
And then I thought the safety, I mean, RDA looks, you know, my biggest question with RDA last year was how well he would do kind of locking a man down in coverage. And
Yeah,
during the spring, he looked so confident and so good at everything. Alex
yeah,
McLaughlin, you already know, is a dude.
yeah,
And then the big surprise for me was Gavin Day.
yeah. He can fly and he
Bro,
can
he looks
hit.
like I don't think they're going to be able to keep him
Yeah,
off the field. What do you think? What's your
yeah,
like view of Gavin Day here real quick? We're going to get into a
yeah.
defensive breakdown, but what do you think?
He was a late riser in the class. I remember his spring recruitment. They offered him like I think in the January, so January of last year, and then he was like from the get-go, like um scheduled an official visit. And he, obviously when UW offers, some other Power Four schools are going to catch on, and then they're going to offer. But when Taylor Mays, and we just saw this with the latest commitment a couple last night, um, that when he finds a safety that you're going to get a good shot. And they found Gavin Day, they evaluated him, and his high school tape like it's not like he's a different player at all from what we saw in the spring. I mean, he's like flying everywhere. He's fast, he's fearless, he's a hard hitter. I mean, just those traits as a freshman to be that fearless. And I agree with you. I don't think they can keep him off the field. And um, CJ Christian's unfortunately going to be out. And so you're going to need depth at that position. And I'm super excited about him. I think he's going to be a key piece to the defense, and I think he's going to be one of the most productive freshmen. Um, yeah, so I'm looking forward to that.
Yeah, I couldn't agree more. I think I think that was amazing. I also thought, which is where we're going to start with this defensive
Yeah,
breakdown, was that the interior defensive line looks Big Ten ready. And what I
yeah,
mean by that is they have more than enough bodies, and they didn't even have all the bodies that they're going to have for the interior
yeah,
already in camp. So let's take a look at that interior defensive line. You know, starting with guys like Linneus Davis, Deshaun Watts, Darren Conley. Then we got Kai McClendon coming in. You have Omar Khan. And then the big name, the true freshman, Derek Coleman Brusa, who was taking all the reps with the ones.
yeah.
How do you, when you're looking at this interior defensive line, what gets you excited? And is there anything that gets you worried?
Yeah, so I'll start with Derek Coleman Bruce, and I'll just call him DCB. I
Yeah.
mean, he was recruited heavily as an edge, but I thought it was an interesting thing that they did, what the staff did is they kind of looked at him and said, you know what, we're not going to watch your weight, just grow as you can grow, and we'll move you around. And they think he can be a good interior dude, which is not to say they can't move him out to the edge, right?
Yeah.
And so I like that versatility that he offers, and I think he's going to see the field a lot as a true freshman. The transfers they brought in are interesting. I think Deshaun Watts they targeted from the very beginning, and uh, just a side note, like his family is awesome.
Hmm.
His dad, who passed away, played pro ball. And I just think that when you get these FCS guys that come in, and we saw with McLaughlin last year, that are producers. And I think that's what they were kind of looking at, or like, let's find guys with the measurables, but that produced, even if it was at a lower level, like the pretty much plug and play is how they agents, and that's how they refer to these transfers. And Watts is a plug and play type of player, and I'm looking forward to seeing what he does. Um, Interior defensive line's interesting though, because we saw Ontario Thompson go in the NFL draft. And if you ask the average Husky fan, like, what was most disappointing last season, it was like, well, we didn't get a lot of pressure on the quarterback. And, some of that blame was put on the interior defensive line. I think it's a harder position group to evaluate, because there are a lot of factors in getting pressure on the quarterback, including, um, how good is your secondary, right? And that type of thing. And, I'm not going to say that there weren't underperformers on the interior defensive line, but I do think that this year that, um, just the amount, like we're saying, the amount of depth and then the competition that was happening in the spring, that hopefully we'll see a little more push and it'll be a little more obvious to people how good these guys are.
I think that the interior defensive line is kind of a little bit more matched up to what Ryan Walters likes from his all of his players at every position, and that's
Yeah.
versatility. He wants guys that can play multiple positions. And last year, I think you had guys like Terrio, who I thought actually played really well last year.
Yeah.
But you had guys like Peppa and Sagapalu who were literally just tubs of goo. They
Yeah.
sat in
Big
there,
dudes.
they
Yeah.
were meant for just nose tackle play. Where now I
Yeah.
think you got guys that like Deshaun Watts who will probably play some nose tackle, but
Yeah.
you could slide him out and he could still get pressure on the quarterback. And I think same thing with a guy like Alenius Davis, Kai McClendon. These are guys that they're not just going to be put in one position and then being like you can't move around. And I think that is a more athletic player, if that makes sense, than
Yeah.
just a
Yeah.
big tub
Yeah.
of goo. And I think that
Yeah.
that creates a an ability to, like I said, be more versatile, but also be more
Yeah.
athletic when it comes to rushing the passer.
Yep.
What do you think about? Do you think, first of all, do you think Alenius Davis takes that next step and becomes a dominant defensive tackle or presence in the middle of that defensive line?
Yeah, I mean, if I was a coach, I'm like, he doesn't have a choice. He needs to, right? Like,
Hmm.
he's the guy that was here last year. He understands the Walters defense the most. And I do think that he will. I mean, that's what he was highlighted by the coaches as having like a solid spring and highlighted by the program as being someone that could take the next step and be the dude. And so, yeah, I think that I think he will,
What do you
based on
think?
the early spring returns.
How do you feel about Darren Conley?
Yeah, I mean, it's kind of tough. I gravitate because I think Watts was the stronger pull out of the portal. Conley out of Ball State. I don't know, man. I mean, what are your thoughts on him?
Well, so when I watched him at practice, so he's more of that guy, that 285-pound dude. He's not your big tub of goo. So
Yeah.
he plays an athletic defensive tackle. I think of who's the old Eagles defense, Cox.
Hmm.
Something in that kind of style. He's not as good as him, but he's
Yeah.
strong and he's good at the point of attack. And I think he'll be able to get some push. And he's more athletic than a lot of these other guys. So I have actually, I actually feel pretty good about what I saw from him. And then, you know, you move from him to a guy like Derek Coleman Brusa, who just as a, I mean, he wasn't even. I went to like six or seven of the practices,
Yeah.
and he wasn't even 18 when those practices were happening. And he's as strong as anybody. And I think that he's a guy that is
Yeah.
gonna. I think he's gonna make some. He's gonna be problems immediately as soon as he gets over. As soon as he's playing and not thinking, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
You know what
Yeah.
I'm saying? That's how I feel about him. Um, Now with Kai McClendon coming in, coming from the SEC, so he's got kind of that pedigree. He's still got some years of eligibility. How are you feeling about Kai McClendon, or is it a wait and see?
I definitely wait and see. I mean, I think he's a lot like a lot of these power forward transfers, like kind of someone that's a little raw, but again, 6'1", 334. Spent 2 seasons at Mississippi State. Um, didn't play too much his freshman. I mean, didn't play like a lot, and so I think we just have to wait and see. Definitely didn't get the same buzz as some of these other guys we've been talking about, and I think it's just because he's young.
Okay.
Yeah.
Um, Anything else you want to say about the defensive tackle room, or are you ready to move on to the edges?
No, let's move on.
The
Yeah.
edges are my biggest concern on the defensive side of the
Yeah.
ball. I worry that we do not have any proven pass rushers other than Deuce Davis, who hasn't played more than 3 games in 2 years, but he had 3 sacks in those 3 games in 2 years. So,
Yeah.
if you're going to give me a quick look at the edge room, what do you think coming out of spring, and who do you think is going to be the person that shines from that room?
Yeah, I
Going
mean,
forward?
I don't know how much you'll see the field, but no one, people cannot stop talking about Ramzak Fruin.
Yep.
And he's listed as an edge. He's 6'4", 226. I mean, this is a freshman. Like again,
He looks bigger than that too in
yeah,
person.
yeah. And I was gonna ask you, like, what does he look in person? I think that uh, he's going to see the field. And I keep on saying these about these freshmen. It's not just because I've been, following them as someone that was, covering recruiting, but like these dudes are, like big dudes, and they were, they've been playing. Some have been playing with the ones, a lot have been playing with the twos, and so I think Ramzak, I'm excited about him. Him at the edge position. God, who else? I mean, Jacob Lane as a senior, and Devin Hyde as a sophomore. God, let's start with Jacob Lane. I just think that his experience helps. Maybe he can blossom into something because he's not, maybe because he's getting more playing time now as a senior. I just don't know, man. It's just hard because,
Yeah.
like you said, not a lot of these guys saw as much game time. And then I just named a freshman, so I'm with you. Like I don't feel as excited about this group. Not to say that they can't perform.
Yeah, I'm looking for both Ward and Davis. If they can stay healthy, it could be a game changer. And you also have JD Hill coming in who'll play a little
Oh
inside
yeah,
and a little outside. And I
yeah.
think you'll see the same thing with Derek Coleman Bruce, because one of the things we saw last year with Ryan Walters' defense, he likes to show all those fronts, but he also likes to play with that jumbo edge. He did that with
Hmm.
Deshaun Lynch a lot last year, and it was successful. All right,
Yeah.
let's move on to the let's move on to the linebacker room because I think this might be our strongest room.
Yeah.
You know, you're looking at Manu, X-Ray Alexander, ZRS, Buddha, and then guys like Donovan Robinson, even behind them, and
Yeah.
Isaiah Tokyo. Like, what do you think of that linebacker room?
It's ridiculous. Like the amount of there's only so many guys that can be on the field at the same time. Like I mean Jacob Manu, like if he it's awesome. Like that they have this dude that's a fourth, what is he, a fifth or sixth year senior? Like, and he, he's undersized at 5'9",
Mhm.
but he's all over the place. He can produce.
Very effective in the run blitz.
Yes, and he's just like solid. When he was on the when he saw the field last year, I was just like, yeah, this guy just knows what he's doing. And that's kind of like half the battle, honestly. Like this is what separates like a championship team from like kind of like just an average team, just having dudes out there not make dumb mental mistakes. And I think Manu obviously he's got these physical traits, but he can be the leader of the defense
Mhm.
at that position. So I'm excited about him. And then you pair him with someone like Zajas Rainy Saleh, who has obviously like just a great like physical build, and then could play. Like he played well last season, so he's gonna play as a sophomore next year. And who do you think is gonna start?
So
Is it
if
gonna be Manu?
if I'm the defensive coordinator,
Yeah,
I want to make sure X-Ray and ZRS are on the field at all times,
yeah,
specifically because their size and versatility matter. Both guys can play the edge and rush the passer, and both guys
hmm,
can play in the middle. And I think somebody like Manu and Buddha can really be kind of the quarterbacks of the defense.
yeah,
But also, I could see the two of them playing together alone on the field because I don't know about
yeah.
you, but I think ZRS might be the most important part of the defense.
I agree.
You
I
know,
agree.
I think he's a chess piece, and he's going to be able. They're going to ask a lot of him because that edge room may be lacking. We don't know, but if it is, you know exactly who they're going to go to immediately, and it's going to be X-Ray and ZRS. And I mean, X-Ray, did not like X-Ray how he played during the non-conference schedule. As soon
Yeah,
as we got into the conference schedule, and it's weird because it seemed to match with Manu playing, he
yeah,
started stepping up in his game. And if you look at his numbers, the first four games compared to the
yeah.
final however many, all of a sudden you started seeing his tackles going up every single game. And I think he ended up proving that he needs to be a guy that is uh, going to play a lot, you know?
I mean, I agree with you about ZRS because I think like if you were to take that group and they're all solid dudes, right? Like he has the highest ceiling by far, um, probably the NFL prospect out of the bunch, and so you can't keep a guy off the field like that, and like you also don't want to keep him off the field for retention purposes, right? Like,
That's an interesting fact. We'll get into the,
yeah,
the secondary here real quick, but
yeah,
the NFL style of coaching and how you play guys matters. And I think Jed Fish might be the perfect guy for that because he
Yeah.
understands the NFL system and what playing time means to these guys who are getting paid. And
Yeah.
he's going to be, I think he's a perfect guy to balance it. Where if we had a guy like a Kalen DeBoer, I don't know how he handles
Yeah.
that because he doesn't have that experience.
Yeah, for
So
sure.
let's move on to the secondary real quick. We talked a little bit about the safeties already, but
Yeah.
as we look at these corners and nickel and the safety in the DB room as a whole, what sticks out to you? Because I have a feeling they're going to be a strength of this team, as opposed to
Uh,
what the rest of the country thinks they're going to be a weakness because we're replacing Taco and Efi.
Yeah, I think it's a quiet, like, I think it's a strength by numbers thing, and I don't want to be too corny with the Warriors, but like, there's a lot, like, they brought in a huge freshman class, like
Yep,
Jaron Jones, Jaron Jones, and Kasani Giles, um,
Duncan.
that, and Duncan, Duncan from the Bay Area. Like, they got these dudes that, again, I think, like, these are the guys that, and we're talking about DCB and all these other freshmen that are going to start right away, but like you kind of have to play these guys. You have to play these freshmen because this is like what, how many guys are in the room? Like eight or something. And I
Yeah.
just like they brought in four freshmen. And so we're going to see some true freshmen play. Yeah, I'm a little, I'll be honest with you, like out of all the units, like I do think that this and the interior defensive line, I'm like, those are your question marks. But you have Dylan Robinson anchoring, and I feel good about that. Um,
Well, yeah,
you
yeah.
look at the Big
Don't
Ten,
forget. You can't forget
yeah,
Rashawn Clark.
yeah,
Rashawn
Rashawn
Clark,
Clark. Sorry about that.
he's a
So
stud.
yeah, so you got those two guys, and I think you can get away in the Big Ten without having like, as long as you have one stud corner, and we obviously had Rashawn Clark who is broken out. So yeah, I feel good about it, not great. I don't know. Where are you at? What's your temperature?
Yeah, I actually feel the same way. I think that actually think it's a strength. I think when we're looking at this secondary, they are th- there's not a ton of experience except for with your safeties.
Hmm.
But there's so much talent in that room. And I think guys like Rashawn Clark and Raheem Wright both played really well Rashawn Clark was hurt. So Raheem Wright
Yeah,
played a lot and looked good in the spring. Same thing with Paul Mankey Jr. And
yeah,
then guys like Rashawn Duncan coming in, Jaron Jones, Giles, they all played and got those important reps. And I think
yeah,
I think it's gonna end up being a strength. And then with all these safeties that they have, Ryan Walters likes to play with a lot of safety. He'll play three sets a lot, and so
yeah,
I think he's going to go there. Now, real quick, let's kind of switch from the defense. Let's look at the offense. Let's go a little bit quicker because I think the offense
yeah.
we kind of know what the wide receiver room is going to look like. But
Hmm.
real quick, who are the wide receivers that stood out to you, and who are you excited to see going into? Uh,
Whew. Big room. A lot of transfers. Um, God. I mean, I kind of like, I'm looking forward to what we see out of Roebuck as a sophomore. Rashid Williams, I think, could have a breakout.
he was
Um,
definitely the number
yeah,
one during the spring. He looked phenomenal.
yeah. And then we didn't see a lot, like Chris Lawson was out. And so like I'm excited about him, and Christian Moss, who transferred in, was also injured. So the wide receivers, like there's a lot, like especially with Moss and Lawson, like I think that those could be dudes, but we just don't know because they didn't participate in the spring. But we saw some of Lawson last year. And then obviously Moss came in from Kennesaw State and really produced, right? 40 caught 45 receptions, 649 yards. Like that's good solid production at the D1 level. So I want to see what we can get out of those dudes.
Yep.
Whether they play a lot because we have Roebuck and there's, they're the room is deep, and Fish isn't afraid to play freshmen. We'll see.
What do you think about Jordan Clay and Trez Davis? Because those guys showed
Yeah,
out.
those guys I know, and they were four stars, and they came on late as part of the recruiting class, and I think that they'll, like I just said, I think they'll compete for playing time. And I wouldn't be surprised if we do see one of them have like a Roebuck type of season, right? Where all of a sudden we see this kind of an obvious like wide receiver number two
Mm.
to Roebuck. But we'll see. It just depends on who Demond has the best connection with, right? That's what it is.
Yep, and it might be different in practice from what it is on the field. Don't you
Yeah,
can't forget Justice Williams because Justice Williams came on strong and he's a big 6'5" guy.
yeah,
And then you got guys like BP Miller, and I mean, there's a
yeah,
lot of bodies in that room and a lot of talent. And I'm curious to see how that plays out. I think the biggest question on the offense though is at the running back position.
yeah,
Jordan Washington going down, and we don't know what his status is going to be going into the fall. We'll know apparently after July 1st.
yeah,
And then you have Lamar and Cooley coming in as transfers. The four-star freshman and Bonner who played a lot during the spring, and then Quade Carr kind of the high riser out of all these guys.
yeah.
What's your quick look at the
Yeah, I
running
think
back
it's
room?
going to be Lamar getting the majority of the touches, and I think it's going to be Carr. I think we might see more of a 50-50 split rather than like the probably like the 70-30, 80-20 we saw with Coleman and Adam Muhammad the past couple years. But yeah, I think Lamar and we don't know what he's I mean, we've seen him at Oregon, but he was never the featured back. And then Quade Carr is just he's the guy that's getting the rave reviews and um, he's got the endorsement from everybody, and he was running back number three after Muhammad and Coleman. So I feel good about Carr. We'll see how Lamar is when the fall comes.
But do you worry about that room, or do you think we have more than enough bodies to get the
I
job
think we
done?
have more than enough bodies, and I think that the way that the versatility that you have from Demond and his kind of just his him being so dynamic and being able to move out of the pocket that kind of relieves the pressure of having a guy that you need to pound every single freaking
Yeah.
play. So yeah, obviously like it's not a strength. Like I'd be feeling way better if the team retained Adam Muhammad, but that's just not what happened. So
Yep. And it's also, I think we feel okay about it because we're looking at what's in front of him. And with that offensive line now, you're
yeah,
looking at Cody Green, John Mills, Landon Hatchett, Champ Leia, and Azo as your starters, with
yeah,
Garion being able to back up everything in the middle, and then Colt Dietrich being your kind of swing tackle, and
yeah.
then guys like Flores and all those other guys that are on the team another year in the weight room, they look like a gigantic offensive line, and I think you feel pretty good about what you see there. Would you say the same?
Yeah, yeah, I agree. I agree, and I think that's going to cover up like any. I mean, when you have a good offensive line, like a lot of guys look good, right?
Yeah.
Like
Yeah.
it's the key.
Let me ask you this. These are a couple just quick questions.
Yeah.
After Decker DeGraff, who do you like as your number two tight end? I know a lot of people were
Oh
expecting
God.
Cade Edridge, but Baron Naone looked really, really good
Yeah.
during the
Yeah.
spring.
Yeah, I like Baranaoni, and I think that he's another one of those guys like maybe didn't see the field a whole bunch last season, but like is talented enough and looks the part that he can produce. So um, if I was a betting man, I'd say Baron Naone would probably be tight end number two, but watch out for Kate Eldridge. I mean, Coach Pow Pow is, always
He does his
he
thing.
does his thing, and then these dudes end up in the NFL. So who knows?
Yep. And then
Yeah,
let me ask you this. I know we all know about Damon and how
yeah,
versatile and great he is.
yeah,
But last year I said this in my pod about being worried about the arm talent following him. Like I didn't think Kai
yeah,
Horton, I thought it was a significant drop off. Elijah
yeah,
Brown, a former four-star guy that's got actual ACC experience,
yeah,
steps in as the backup. And during the fall or during the spring, I was actually thought he looked very comfortable running the offense, and you could see his experience. He had a little bit of shake to him, not like Damon, of course, but a little bit of shake to him. And it made me
yeah,
feel a lot better if Damon was happened to go down, that we have somebody capable running the offense. What do you think?
yeah. I agree, and I think I mean, they wanted someone that can do that and wouldn't have the freshman jitters, right? Like just someone that could come in and have a command of the offense um, that's just like plan Z though, right? Like you got to hope that this guy never sees the field for a significant amount of time. Because if that happens, then like the offense kind of, then you're a little worried. I mean, you're a lot worried, right? But
Yeah.
we won't go there.
All right. So we got kind of a good look. We're feeling good about the Huskies
Yeah.
going into the fall.